So we're gonna run through these really quick. Um, these different lessons. Um, we are now talking about McKenna's small intestines and her large intestines. Uh, we already did the stomach and the esophagus and the mouth. So now we are going to see what is going on with both of those so we can try to make our determination what is wrong with this girl. Um, So this graph, you can see a lot. Um, and the green is in healthy small intestines, and then the orange is hers. Uh, and you can see that the numbers vary. So why might it be difficult for us to do this investigation using a real small intestines? So the small intestines is really thin, as you can see in the walls. Let's see, these walls right here are super thin, so you could easily rip them if we were using our hands, especially if you get your nails done and they're a lot longer than some people's. You could puncture the small intestines. Plus, the small intestines is not really small; it's very long. Um, so it's a lot to deal with. So what we are going to do is watch the video of this experiment. The lab kits did not come in on time, so we can't do them. Um, so let's see. Is exit the video.
Okay, we're gonna take a piece of dialysis tubing out of water it's been soaking in, and both ends are open right now. So we're gonna seal up both ends by folding it back on itself about an inch, maybe a little further. And then we're going to take a piece of floss and tie off that end really tight, like this. We'll put a loop around it, like you would tie your shoes. Feed that through and pull it tight, and oh, I may have missed it there. Do that again, and you don't want to just put one loop in. You want to do a couple. There's one, two. I'm actually gonna do three total. Two, nice and tight. Go three. Okay, now that's nice and tight, and now we can flip it upside down. And before we tie off this end, we're gonna fill it with a liquid. And in this case, I'm gonna fill it with water. But if you fill it with something else besides water, make sure you get all the liquid on the inside and that you rinse off the outside when you're done, because often these tests are to see, what type of, if anything, if substances can go across solid surfaces, move across solid surfaces. So I'm filling this up with water. You want to be real careful to not get it on the outside, all of it on the inside. We'll do one more, and then we'll seal off this end. Now on this end, again, we fold it back on itself. Take another piece of floss. 1 knot. Two knots. Third. 3 knots, nice and tight. Now that, typically we want to rinse that off too before we put it in another solution. I'm just going to rinse it off with water for now. And if you put it in another solution, you hang it on a ruler or something, you'd dip it into that solution then and start your experiment. But that's how you fill your dialysis tubing with a liquid.
Listen, there's a good
Let's see if I can do this the correct way. No, that's the same. So, what he was explaining in this video was that he filled it up with water and he made sure that he used the pipette to put the water from the beaker into the bag, not on the outside, but in the inside. Um, tied both ends and then rinsed it off to make sure that the solution was still not on the bag, which it wasn't. And then he dipped it in another solution to see if anything came from the inside of the bag leaked on the outside. Because they were trying to model how a small intestines, because when your food goes down through there, those villi pick up particles through there. They'll take the little molecules and pieces of food, and they will absorb the nutrients, and they let the rest funnel through to the large intestines. Um, um, so we did get to do the experiment. You don't have to worry about that. Uh, so the in this little, I don't know if y'all can see that picture or not. But in the picture, you see the solution inside of the bag, and it is sitting in a cup. I don't know if it's water or what kind of chemical solution it is. That's what it's supposed to look like. So in this, we will be talking about glucose. We will be talking about complex carbohydrates, um, which is stuff like starch. As you can see, the glucose and the complex carbohydrate pretty much look the same. Uh, they both require oxygen, they both require carbon, and they both require hydrogen. Now, there are different numbers of those that they will use, but they will need all three elements uh, for them to become a compound. Um, Not do this. So you will do this towards the end of class. Um, it is your own work Make sure that your name and your class period's on it, but you can discuss with your partner uh, to try to get it done. Make sure you turn it into the tray after class is over. Lesson 4 will be on the back of lesson 3. Um, just keep. So we will be doing a graham cracker lab on Tuesday. So I need to go get graham crackers. So this is so we are following the complex carbohydrates. What do you notice when we are moving along? Let me move this bar real quick. Yep. So as we can see in the top box, the water is the same, amino acids are the same, proteins, fatty acids, fats, glucose, complex carbohydrates, fiber. Based on that food molecule, when it comes in the mouth, it is all the same. Um, but it starts to change when it goes into the small intestine. Um, because as you can see in the small intestine, the water stays the same, the amino acids stay the same. But when you look at the protein and the healthy small intestines, it's lower on the bar graph than McKenna's, which McKenna's is a little elevated. But when you go down the fatty acids, it shows that McKenna's is lower than a healthy one. So that means that she's lacking the fatty acids. Same way with the fat. Her fat content is a lot higher than the healthy one. Then you look down the glucose, hers is lower than a normal small intestine's glucose. Same way with the complex carbohydrates. Uh, hers is higher versus a healthier one, but her fiber stays the same. And then you look from her large intestines. Her water levels are a little high versus a healthy one. Her amino acids, proteins are the same. Her fatty acids are off the charts where they need to be. Um, but her regular fat is on par. Her glucose is way elevated. And her other complex carbohydrates is way elevated. Uh, and her fiber stays the same. So there is something going on in between those two organs. So now follow the fiber. What do you notice as it moves through a healthy digestive system? Um, when you're looking through the different categories that they want you to look at, hers are either lower or elevated in the different organs. Some are where they need to be. A lot of them are lower or higher than where they should. Um, so there could be something not doing its job or something that's not healthy anymore inside of her body. So what's it? Um, in your large intestines, that's where it all comes out. You're apparently in this situation, hers. This is slide. Whoops. My bad. I used to touch the wrong mouse. Because as you can see, there's 75% of the poop is water, 15 is fiber, the other 2% is salt, minerals, and other stuff. Um, so we are now looking at the structures. So let's go back to that. So fiber is normal in the poop, and we see that McKenna and in a healthy person, it's the same. The water is normal, but we see that McKenna and in a healthy person, but McKenna has more water in her large intestine than in a healthy person. McKenna has other stuff in her poop, like fatty acids, uh, glucose, I mean, and complex carbohydrates. In a healthy person, no complex carbohydrates, fatty acids, or glucose leaves as poop. They are gone once they reach the large intestines. So they most of those are absorbed in your small intestine. So apparently they seep through and finish coming through the digestive tract, which it should not have. It is now in McKenna's large intestines. Um, as we already talked about, that glucose, starch, and fiber are, I didn't add fiber in it, but they are all made up of carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen atoms. Um, Starch is more complex than glucose, and fiber, even more complex than starch. Fiber. So fiber is more complex than both of them. Fiber molecules are large and difficult to break down due to the extra connections between the chains. So that you see how they're close together at the top. Uh, so this is what they're talking about when they're close in shape. How they are all linked, and they're just not linked once. They can be linked multiple times. And that is what causes the fiber to be so difficult to break down. Versus the other. Starch molecules look like they might be breaking down during the digestive system. So the starch is the bottom box. So what happens to your food? Molecules as they move through the small intestine and large intestine. We just went over it, what happens to it. Just write that brief. Don't write nothing super off the wall long. Uh, so we'll work with your partner with this one. And then on sheets, I think it's from page 34. Um, you will need to work with your partner on that sheet. Also, make sure that both your names are on and your class periods on it so that you can turn it in. And this is page 34. Um, there will be an extra sheet of the graph paper. Uh, this right here. Uh, if need be. But what you need to focus on getting done and what you should be getting done is the first 4 questions. So make sure you finish your progress tracker and also finish those 4 questions. Um, make sure your partner's name's on them, your name's on them. Turn them into the tray. Any other work that you have out, you need to also turn into the tray. Um, so please make sure you turn those in. Um, anything that you have in your binder, locker, backpack, turn it in by Friday so it'll get graded. And after that, I have not taken over Christmas break unless you were absent or you come up to me and you give me some valid reason why you returned in late. Also, when you are sick, it is your responsibility to get your work and ask if there is something that you missed. If you do not, then you will get a 0 into eternity. So avoid those things and ask questions. Be your own advocate. Um, but make sure you turn all this into the tray. You have plenty of time to get it done. I am done 6 minutes earlier than what I needed to be. Um, so you should have about 25 to 26 minutes now if you would have started on time. To knock both of these out, put them in the tray, let you and your partner say. And make sure if your partner is not doing what they are supposed to or refuses to do the work, make sure that you tell Mr. Ward or whoever's in the room. Make sure that you also write a note that, hey, my partner such and such refused to do the work or would not work with me on this project. It'll be their grade, not yours.